Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, Congress hits the snooze button on federal shutdown until January of 2026. Governor Moore and General Assembly facing another $1.4 billion budget deficit. MCPS redistricting hits the boiling point with parents, and Montgomery County lowers qualification standards for police amid recruitment difficulties. Our panel of insider will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by civic activist Cary Lamari and Stacey Souter, a member of the Montgomery County Republican Central Committee. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. Welcome to 21 This Week. There's a lot to cover today. Congress finally hit the snooze button on the nation's longest government shutdown, but only until January 30th of 2026. Democrat Governor Moore blasted the deal because the bill omitted funding for Obamacare health care subsidies, saying this is exactly why people hate Washington, while Maryland's lone Republican Congressman Andy Harris continued to say the Democrats caused the shutdown in the first place. Cary, after 43 days, Congress votes to reopen the government. Do Republicans win because they didn't cave to Democrats' demands on the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act?
No, the people lost. I don't care about the Republicans winning. The people lost. Millions and millions of people are going to be seeing larger health care bills. Inflation is going to be even more rampant because bear in mind, healthcare is really the beginnings or the stimulus or the catalyst for inflation in general. Right now, if you want to have your air conditioner replaced, it's tripled in price in the past 5 years. Your the average roof price is $17,000. Healthcare has gone up, food's gone up, milk's gone up. If we can't get it under control, the people have lost. And that's the problem here. The Republicans basically say, we can't afford it. Well, we can't afford not to deal with it. That's the reality.
Well, let's see what Stacey has to say about this. Stacey, I'm sure you have a rebuttal for that position. Did Republicans win or did Democrats win or did just the country lose in general?
I think that, there's a lot more to it than that, Casey, like who's the big winner, who's the big loser in this. It's very ephemeral because I think Americans have a tendency to forget very quickly. Millions of Americans, to Cary's point, they're about to get hit with higher healthcare costs on January 1st, and voters do not pause to analyze which committee dropped the ball and ask which amendment failed on page 423 of a 1,000-page bill. They look at Washington and say, who is supposed to handle this? And with Republicans holding more control, they're the ones who will most likely get the blame, regardless of Democrat theater and political hijinks. I will say, I think that the reality is Obamacare sucks and it needs to be reformed. However, in the short term, it's absolutely fixable. I think that Congress could pass a 12-month subsidy extension and beef up state reinsurance programs that lower premiums, much like the 322 waiver that we have here in Maryland, and or move forward on badly needed bipartisan transparency that measures, finally lets families really see what they're paying for. So my answer here is that, Democrats, they might have won a short-term victory. Republicans might have looked like the villains in this, but I think that they can avoid a midterm fallout if they just get their act together on this. And otherwise, if they don't, voters will reform the Republican Party instead.
Well, I got to tell you, there should be a pox on both their houses. But the fact of the matter is that the Democratic Party under Joe Biden, when they were in control, passed the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, and they set them to expire this December 31st. It wasn't the Republicans who voted for that. It was the Democrats who voted. Cary, I know you're shaking your head, but they did that through the last bill that Joe Biden had passed. So they knew that this was coming. Now, whether or not they anticipated they would be in charge, who knows? But both houses have been playing games with this for the past 20 years since Obamacare was first created. The problem I have is, Cary, is by kicking the can down the road. Stacey offers a wonderful solution to a practical problem, but neither party plays in the same sandbox any longer. So are we going to be in a position 60 days from now of having another shutdown?
May I?
Yeah.
$37 trillion deficit. $2 trillion going to tax breaks for the wealthy when we should be building infrastructure. $1.1 trillion from military spending, but we can't afford to deal with healthcare in our country. But we're funding wars in Israel, in Ukraine. Give me a break. At this point in time in history, we need to address the problems that we have here in this country. And healthcare is the biggest one. The cost of healthcare is absolutely out of control, and it's trickled down to every other industry in our country. So the people are losing. If we don't
Cary, I don't disagree with you. If I can just jump in here really quickly, I don't disagree with you on a few of those points about the trickle down, because you have to make healthcare a priority in your family. You must pay for it, or the consequences are dire. So if you end up with bad healthcare, you know what can happen. However, this argument from the Democrats that the Republicans it's benefiting the rich Republicans. There are so many There are so many Democrat elites in this country, multi-billionaire Democrats. So don't just hang that hat on the Republicans and say,
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah,
I mean,
Cary,
all of the elites.
you got 30 seconds to finalize this. Then we got to go on to our next topic.
Bottom line, we've got to stop playing games here. We've got to work in a bipartisan manner, and we've got to get healthcare under control so that we can get inflation under control.
Amen.
That's it.
Well, here's my prediction. My prediction is come January 30th, we're going to be staring at another shutdown because the Democrats will be unhappy that the vote for the ACA subsidies will go against them, and they won't have all the budget bills passed, and they'll have to go to another continuing resolution, and we're going to be back in this same kettle of fish again. All right, let's move on to another kettle of fish, which stinks also, and that's the Maryland budget deficit. Last year at this time, the state government officials were facing a $3.3 billion deficit, and now 12 months later, the state is confronted with another budget deficit of $1.4 billion, which is 5 times larger than what was projected last April. Stacey, who's to blame for this debacle that's going on in the General Assembly in Annapolis?
Casey, this is where I cue up the Stephen Sondheim soundtrack for Send in the Clowns and sing at the top of my lungs, don't bother, they're here, right? It is just a big clown show. You've mentioned this before. But this isn't a one-year circus, and it's not just about Governor Moore or the Sessions General Assembly. Maryland's structural deficits go all the way back to the O'Malley administration, when spending formulas were expanded much faster than the revenues could keep up. And with a Democrat supermajority in charge for years, there was never much pressure to correct course. So what we're seeing now is the bill is coming due from a decade of decisions made under one-party rule. And keep in mind, the Democrats love to blame Larry Hogan, but he showed true restraint regarding the structural deficit. He wasn't able to entirely eliminate it, but he managed to let it not grow. So to me, the roots of the problem are long, deep, and very blue. And until both the governor and the legislature decide to break the cycle, instead of repeating it like clockwork, we're going to hear the same soundtrack every budget season, except in January, the lyrics will be changed to, oh God, they're here.
Well, that's very optimistic presentation. Cary, what do you think we can do about, year in, year out, the budget deficits? I mean, obviously, the education funding is a huge part of that. But how else can we address this going forward?
The state and the county has been miserable administering large projects for as long as I can remember. I mean, just look at the Purple Line. Look at the Silver Spring Transit Center. That's we've got 2 floors there we can't even use for buses. Not to mention, we need to build a bridge. We need to pay for that bridge. The bottom line is we're in trouble. We're in real trouble. And if we can't get money from the federal government, remember, it's a 3-legged stool: federal, state, and then county. We're just going to dig ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper you know?
Well, before we go to our break, I just want to say, Cary, I really appreciate the fact that you want to build another bridge for the Outer Beltway, and so that we
I
can
was talking about the Key Bridge.
finally have transportation sanity around here. Anybody who's been on the Capitol Beltway this past week has wanted to
Good point.
yeah, just pull their hair out because the construction on the Virginia side, uh, is about to be completed where their toll lanes will dump out at the Cabin John Bridge, and of course, then they narrow down, and it's until we have some expansion of our highways in Maryland, we're going to be in deep trouble. We're going to end the segment here. When we come back from this short break, MCPS redistribution plan gets a pushback from parents. So stay tuned. And welcome back. MCPS proposes major boundary changes and a regional program model. Cary, according to recent press reports, parents are pushing back against the plan that MCPS has announced, and meetings have actually erupted in shouting matches over the lack of transparency from MCPS school superintendent Tom Taylor. What's going on here?
They should shout back. I mean, this is an idea. It's a wonderful idea in theory, but we're not ready for it, and we're not dealing with it. They say that they're doing this because of a population increase and enrollment increase. Well, the fact of the matter is we're losing 6,000 students, projected by 2031. Not to mention, we want to go to this regional program model, and we're going to do away with AP class schools and signature schools, and the Northeast Consortium, the Down Counties Consortium. What are these kids going to do? There's no logistics ready to handle this new concept of education by sending our kids from one part of the county all the way to the other part of the county. Are they going to drive? Are they going to take buses? Do we have enough buses? What about our teachers? If you want to create these concept schools in every district, are we going to shift? Teachers, art teachers, tech school teachers, all of them. Are we going to shift them to every different part of the county? I haven't heard any of this. And I have to ask one big question in all of this discussion. Where is the school board, and where are the children's voices? I mean, we've heard for the NAACP, and we've heard from other stakeholders, but I haven't heard how it's going to affect the children and what the children think about it. I mean, we're not ready for this.
Well, that's the voice of the parents, isn't it? I mean, the parents are voicing their displeasure with the proposal. Isn't that the feedback for you?
We have over 50% of our school population have parents that are disengaged, that are not engaged in their children's education. That's a reality. Okay. So yeah, you may hear a small percentage of parents that are participating, and they're all upset and they're focused, they're paying attention. But the rest of them, I think it's the kids that make their own decisions on what direction their future is going to go in. And to be quite honest with you, I have not heard from these kids. I mean, how are they going to get to these schools? The entire logistics, there's nothing really of substance in these proposals. All they've done is said, we're going to have 2 holding schools. We're going to have, signature or tech schools in every part of the region.
Let's go to Stacey and let's see what Stacey has to think about this. Because Stacey, the PTA, which does represent parents and teachers, they're urging a slowdown in this process because they don't feel like it's been transparent enough. Well, but the teachers union, as Cary might have touched on, questions even the feasibility of this because of lack of resources and lack of teachers in specific areas. What justifies this complete overhaul of the school system as it is today?
So I think when PTA leaders are begging for a slowdown and the teachers' unions of all groups is questioning whether the plan is even feasible, that's not a right-wing revolt. That's a system itself waving a big red flag. Boundary changes in regional models can work, but only when families understand the goals, the data, and the impact on their children. And right now, MCPS is asking people to trust a vision they can't actually see. You had mentioned to me earlier about equity playing into this. And so does equity justify an overhaul? And to Cary's point, especially with dropping enrollment, it's maybe justified when the public believes the overhaul will work, but you can't build equity on top of a process that's opaque, rushed, and collapsing into shouting matches, right? So as stated, at that point, it's not, I think it's less an equity plan and right now it's an anxiety plan. And as you mentioned on the program before, the county has a miraculous way of pretending to take community input seriously and then doing what they damn well please in the end, which often does not benefit the community.
Cary, go ahead.
The county does the same thing they always do. They go from 0 to 60. Boom, that's it. Take a look at, they're not even considering how this new multiplex housing scheme and increased density in certain areas are really part of the equation. We have lowering school enrollment, new schools, 2 holding schools, where they're talking about this new University Boulevard corridor master plan, and that's just the beginning, And how does it integrate? It's typical. We don't consider the consequences till after we have a crisis, and we approve things. Boom, because it's a bright idea. It's a great idea. Let's do it now.
Well, we love think tank ideas, and this is obviously one that's fortunately being re-examined by parents who are directly impacted in the lives of their children. And
Casey, can I add one point?
Even though we want more participation, I think we should be happy about the participation we have. Any final thoughts? We have about 30 seconds left.
Yeah, Casey, I think that formula, and I think that Cary is right, that the Democrats don't do anything on an incremental level. And they may have bought into this whole thing about the blueprint education investments being long-term economic drivers, and which is why we need all these other schools, because Maryland's education system is going to improve. Well, it's not, as it stands right now. Only 33% of 8th graders are proficient in reading, and only 26.5% of students are proficient, in lower grades in math. It's really bad. And they need to really get focused on what's not working and build from there to start start doing the building blocks to what works.
Take it in pieces.
Exactly.
And slow down, Yep. It's a great idea. It's a great concept.
Well, we'll have to leave it at there, because I want to go to our final topic. And Montgomery County has had a long reputation for having one of the best police departments in the nation. And in part, that was because recruits were required to have 60 hours of college credit when applying for a position. Stacey, there's a huge vacancy in the number of police officers. Facing 186 vacancies, the Montgomery County Police decided to change its 60 credit college requirement so that recruits can now earn those 60 credits through a University of Maryland global campus partnership. Supporters say it removes barriers. Critics say it lowers standards. And others say, we don't care what happens. We just need more cops on the street. What do you think?
They're all wrong. Listen, Casey, my dad was a cop in Montgomery County for nearly 30 years, and he did go through college while he was working as a cop, and it was incredibly stressful. And I will say that it led in part to the breakup of his marriage, because he was just constantly gone. And so what you're asking for is to bring these people into a high stress job when they don't have enough people on the force to begin with, and then telling them that they need to go to college. You need to have a certain mindset and intellectual strength to work as a cop, because you need to be acting fast on your feet, thinking, seeing, observing, being able to write your report. You cannot bring in these green recruits that have not gone through the crucible of college, at least to some extent already, that can handle that job. It's a high pressure job. I think instead of trying to fill those 186 vacancies, that they ought to be focusing on increasing the pay and the bonuses substantially, cutting that number down by half, and then bringing in the highest, strongest recruits that they possibly can. And that will start to build a very strong, capable force. Then they can expand from there.
Well, but here's a contrary vision or a view about the problems confronting Montgomery County. Cary, last week, the chief of police, Mark Yamada, appearing before the County Council's Public Safety Commission, said, and we talk about the things that prevent people from seeking employment here in Montgomery County. Google the top reasons somebody might not want to come here. Google defund Montgomery County Police. I mean it, it's there, the message, they see it. It's not so much that they don't want to work for the chief of police. They don't want to work for the environment. That's all of us in this room. All of us go into that messaging that we need officers here. We welcome you, we support you, and that's not what they're seeing. So on the other one hand, you can offer $1 million, but if somebody's going to be miserable in that position, they're not going to want to be here. Is the problem start with the county council, Cary?
You know what? This was a huge issue for me when I was running for county council in the last election. Bottom line is, we strive to have one police officer for every 1,000 residents of the county, and today we're about 15% short of that. Now, we've got 500 square miles. We have 1.1 million people. Compare us to DC. DC's 68 square miles, right? 650,000 people. And they've got today 3,200 police officers, sworn police officers. Their standard is 4,000. Nationally, in the national arena, a jurisdiction our size would have between 2.4 to 2.7 police for every 1,000 residents. Okay. And then you add what you just simply said, this national epidemic of, I hate the police. Let's defund the police. It's a political epidemic. It's not real. Montgomery County's evidence of that. We have a wonderful police department, even though it's understaffed, and we have, our crime is going down. The reality is we need to start supporting the police more, showing a little more political respect to the police, and we need to bring our complement of officers up. But just leaving them alone, I'm sorry, I don't blame police officers. It's a good job.
But the message again that Yamada delivered to the county council, and I'm not sure the public is hearing this, is that the county council needs to change its view towards the police.
They do.
And it may take removing some of those council members who voice those contrary opinions before the message is heard loud and clear.
You had two council members that have espoused a lack of support of the police, and one council member actually posted on their Twitter account, that they should defund them all. I have the receipts.
You're gonna have the last word on that. We got to go to break. Fine. When we come back, parting shots.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
When I first saw Turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
And welcome back. Now with parting shots, Cary Lamari.
Okay. The council's going to be looking at a $7 million subsidy or bill for SNAP funding. I think it's wonderful. I don't know if we're going to need it now that we're back. I hope I would counsel the council to approve it, but put it on a wait and see kind of expenditure list. If we need it, I'm hoping that we have it available for these people.
Thank
That's
you,
it.
Cary. Stacey Souter, your parting shot.
Well, Casey, first of all, thank you as ever for inviting me to be on the show. And as I always say, it's fun to be on there with Cary as well. I would just like to say that we, the Republican Party, are in a phase right now where we are actively recruiting candidates for the county council, so and for other legislative seats. So if there is anyone out there that is thinking about running, wants to learn more about it, please contact the MCGOP, www.mcgop.com, send an inquiry in, and we will certainly get back to you, talk to you about it, and let you know what you would need to do to become a viable candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Stacey. And I want to thank you both for being here. And I want to thank the audience for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.